Welcome back, everybody, to Satisfactionist Live. I'm your host, Ben Olmos. We're happy to have everybody back joining us today, and glad I'm working on that fade out for that music. But anyway, glad to have everybody back for another exciting week of conversations. And this week we are going to be talking about online education, and somebody who happens to be very well up to speed when it comes to this topic is somebody joining us once again. Professor Morris Ham. Morris, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How about you, Ben?
I'm doing good. Your video's a little frozen there, but that's okay. We're gonna roll with it. It it we're actually coming onto this show, and I did something that is probably never really advised, which is to completely update your entire operating system and all of the software associated with it just about a half hour before we go live. So some of these glitches that we may encounter today can entirely be my fault, as we navigate through things. But so today I wanted to get into this topic of online education, and the reason for that is, um, since COVID hit, there has just been this massive shift in the way that we educate. And as a faculty who has been in the classroom and have taught online, um, completely now moved to an entire online environment. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, at least in the higher education realm, especially, I shouldn't say, across the entire board, but I think for business programs in particular, it kind of works out rather well, and it works out well for a number of reasons. And Morris, one of the reasons I'm happy to have you on today is because you run the MBA program at Holy Names University, and this is a program that has been revamped and is entirely online now. So maybe let's start a little bit with give us a little background about the program and how it's working, and I know we're still relatively new in its launch as a fully online program, but how is it going so far?
So far, I'd have to say it's going very good. In the whole names for a year and a half now, and when I got there, it was a mixture of a few on-ground courses and a few online courses. But the on-ground courses were so limiting for our students and our faculty. That is, you had to be there 4 hours on a particular day, and it'd be Friday evening starting at 6 o'clock, or it may be Saturday morning. And, it was too limiting, I thought. Plus, we were working on a semester basis for several courses, and that took too long. We had the option of 7-week courses, a little more faster work for the students, but we were able to revamp it and get the program to a 1-year completion. You can do the whole course in 1 year, and that's been very popular with the students. The flexibility in the program is extremely popular. We have a number of athletes and graduate assistants, and they very much appreciate the flexibility of when they do the work, how and where they do the work, et cetera. And so it's been very popular, and we've got it. The course can be completed in 1 year, and we've made the promise, but not really delivered on it. So, but now it does, and that I think is very good. Flexibility. We've got students now around the country. I've got a couple of them that are from out of the U.S. that occasionally that take a course, and since we've got COVID going on, they're staying in their home country and taking the course, which is very good. So I think it's been great.
Yeah. So, and that's so a couple things that you touched on there. One is something, if you've never taken online courses before or gone through an online education program, there's kind of two types of delivery methods. There's what they call synchronous, which is you're going to be online at a particular time for a particular duration of time, and you're expected to kind of be there and participate live and interact with the instructor and students in that environment. The other is what they call asynchronous, and asynchronous means that there is a set of material that is laid out. Often the instructions are recorded. I know when I teach, I'll give a live date and time, and sometimes students show up, sometimes they don't. But either way, I show up and I record and I do my thing, and then that recording is published, and then folks can go into it and they can watch it, and it's kind of supplemental information to all of the other things that are part of the course, and things are kind of built up that way. So two different ways that you can learn, and in the MBA program, at least for Holy Names, this is all kind of asynchronous activity, right?
It is. I encourage, like you do, to have sessions where the students can come in and participate in a live session that ultimately gets recorded and can then be viewed by on the asynchronous method. Requiring or setting up a synchronous course gets us back to requiring the students to be there at a specific time in order to participate. If they could do it voluntarily, that's one thing, but putting them on a required schedule is if you have somebody from the East Coast and you set up an 8 o'clock session at night, suddenly they're up until starting it at 11 p.m. And it just doesn't work so well. So I like the asynchronous method of doing that
Yeah, I mean, I
and
will
then making
agree.
it available.
I think asynchronous definitely, I think for a lot of students that definitely helps, because especially I think in MBA programs, it's usually working adults, people who have a day job, and are often kind of juggling family and work and school, and they're kind of trying to fit everything in. And so having that opportunity to just kind of learn on your lunch break, or I've had even students will pull up a lecture on the drive home, and not that they're watching it, but they're playing the audio from it, and so just trying to maximize your time, which is kind of nice. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a is it I was going to say it's not something that is for everyone. I think that there are certainly folks who when you're very self-directed, and you're good at being able to map out your tasks for the week, and plan out your day and your week, things like this work out really well. um, if you're the kind of person that needs to kind of have that in classroom engagement, sometimes these types of classes can be a little bit difficult, because you may have a question and you want your question answered now, and it's sometimes a little bit difficult for you to pose that question and hope for a response. Um, but I know one of the things, at least when it comes to schools like Holy Names, is when you have these asynchronous classes, there's kind of a expectation that professors are going to respond to you within at least 24 hours, and oftentimes they do, and even sooner than that. So, if you are that person who has a lot of immediate questions, if you can give it a couple hours, you usually have your answer back.
Yeah, the our my policy or expectation with the faculty is response within 24 hours. If but if you need more time, just tell them. I mean, ignoring them, the student is not proper. So you can say, I'm engaged in this. I'll get to you tomorrow or whatever. Uh, is one thing. I provide my cell phone so students and encourage call me. Don't bang your head against the wall. Call me, ask me the question, let me answer the question, and do it in real time, or shoot me. That I don't. I watch it very closely. If you ask my wife, I watch it too closely, but that's a different issue. But it's hard sometimes to wait for that answer and to get it, as quickly as you want it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not the same, but it can be close and it can be acceptable for many students. There are, I understand, that just are not suited for uh, online. As you may know, Holy Names had to go entirely online for all of its programs back in April with the COVID outbreak. And suddenly, people that had been doing on ground are doing online. Some of the faculty hate it, some of the students hate it, because it's just not what they're used to. But it's also the only thing we can offer them at this time because we cannot do on ground. So we give them the next best alternative and try to enrich the online experience as much as we can. So
Yeah, I mean,
just
it's uh,
that.
it's interesting, and I don't want to I don't want to sound like I'm throwing folks under the bus, although I probably will when I say this. But I think as faculty, especially in a business program, where you're educating folks to be competitive in a business place where um, part of the reason of getting an MBA is all about kind of having the latest and greatest knowledge to compete with others in the workplace. And I think as faculty, if you get really settled into the way that you do things, you're kind of not serving, um, student expectations that way. And for me at least, I've always been adventurous with technology, and making this shift to online has not really been a big challenge for me. But I've certainly and I teach at Holy Names. I've teach at a couple other places as well. And I've been to faculty meetings, and sometimes you hear folks who are just like, this is terrible, what we're having to do now. I will say, there are certain topics that are really difficult to translate well into the online environment. I think foreign language are one of those things that can be a little bit more challenging. I think holy names, and this isn't my department, but I can certainly empathize with the folks who are teaching in like nursing, for example, where you've got labs, and those things can be a little bit more challenging to do those courses online. But for the most part, at least, for a lot of the things that I teach, it has been a pretty, kind of a seamless thing. So long as within every kind of learning environment, you have what they call an LMS, or a learning management software. And so, to the best of your abilities, that you can manage that LMS. Um, I think just really serves you well to being able to kind of migrate your classes from being on ground to online. I will say the biggest challenge for me is drawing people into the conversation. So I can continue to bring my enthusiasm and stare into a camera and try and, draw people in. But that's not always easy to do, to get people talking, because people, they put their cameras, they turn off their cameras, they mute their microphone, they kind of have used this not being in a classroom to really just kind of being anywhere, to attend class. And I have to say, for me, that's kind of one of the challenges, I guess, as a teacher, is to try and draw people into the conversation through a camera.
Yeah, I also teach at another institution, and there's pretty much a rule in the lectures that all the cameras have to be on, all the microphones muted, but you get at least everybody, you can watch them, and at least see what they're doing. So, but you've got to, I treat my online lectures as a lecture I would do in person, same type of speech, analogies, jokes, movement, etc., so that I do not become just a person sitting there and talking. I am using my hands and my legs, and well, not my legs too much, but using my hands and my face and all to give motion. If I use my legs, then the class is over and we're home. But it helps, and I can watch the students and see how well they are into it, and see if they are interested. It's like anything else in being, in person lectures. You still got to be interesting. You still got to be able to get the material across in a way that students understand and want to learn it. And that's just part of the skill of being a teacher, is to be able to bring the knowledge to the students in a way that, and that's whether we do it online or on ground, it's pretty much the same. So
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true. It I think a lot of it kind of depends on, to the degree that you make it interesting for folks. One of my own philosophies around this is that, we're really competing for people's attention. There's plenty of things that they could be doing, could be watching, that could pull them away, from this. And so everything from, 1 minute TikTok videos to, TED talks on YouTube. There are so many things out there that, in a way, I think for instructors, what it has done is it kind of forces you to up your game, because, if a student kind of feels like, you're not really bringing anything to the game, that, they can go out there and just read it and take the quizzes and do the discussion questions and things of that nature, and you just are just, the um, the component that's a part of that, that's not really being, too impactful. They're not getting, a really good experience coming from it. So I think, from our standpoint as instructors, we have to continue to make it interesting. um and I know for me, like, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, like, and this is what's kind of hard, is that when, I ask open-ended questions in class, and sometimes because it's online and there's a delay, and then people are, kind of, you got to give it a little bit longer. So I find myself, I'll ask a question, and then there's this long kind of awkward silence between, people starting to chime in. And that's the one thing I haven't figured out how to, how to get ahead of yet is to like close that gap so there's not so much awkward silence. I try and tell people like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this, but then I'm gonna ask a question, and this is gonna be my question. So be thinking about an answer. Anything to try and get ahead of it, to make it a little bit more seamless and flow a little bit more.
Yeah, great ideal, but I was one of the things I heard very early on was when you ask a question, and people answer, just wait, and somebody will speak up to fill the silence. And that long silence that you're giving them gives them more reason to speak up and respond to the question. They're getting antsy if it's too quiet and you're just standing there waiting, then they respond. And it may just be has we have to factor in that time lag mission and then the time lag of getting them to respond, you know, to make it happen. You know, Occasionally you get into it and they're ready to talk and just, bubble, bubble, bubble. But a lot of times they need to feel like they have to answer before they answer. So anyway.
Yeah, it's I will say one of the classes that I've been doing this semester at Holy Names that has been really interesting in the environment that we're in right now. And I started out with this class knowing that we were in this election year. So the class is business, society, and government, and it couldn't really.
No.
It really couldn't have come at a better time. And I love teaching classes like that when there is this kind of, you know, kind of battle royale going on, because there's so many things that are happening. Everything from the government almost mandating the sale of TikTok to some American companies with who will have a larger share in it, to just the
Mm-hmm.
transition between one administration to the other, the different kind of philosophies of how government should play a role in business, and to the degree that we may see policy changes, from before to now. We just got through going through a lot of information about the government and regulations around environment and how business plays a role in environment, and how all of that impacts society. So, I mean, it's funny because in the textbook they're talking about the Paris Accords, and then within our current administration we have somebody who got rid of the Paris Accords, and the next administration we're going to go back to the Paris Accords. So, I mean, it's really been a very interesting class with all of these changing dynamics.
Sound like one I would be interested in taking because I love a good debate like that. And hearing all the sides and offering and everything. Yeah, and sounds like a natural for online. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
it was rather interesting, because one of the things that I we actually had a whole session following the election once it was once the majority of folks were basically saying, look, Biden's got the votes at this point. That this is by all accounts where it's going. And it's interesting in our environment. I have to say, even for myself, I was a little, um, as I kind of set the stage for the discussion. And I always tell folks this, this is really about kind of having a healthy discussion. It's not about trying to hype your side versus the other side. It's really just kind of about talking through everything that's happened. Um, and for what I thought could be a kind of a dicey conversation, I thought folks did a really great job of just kind of, um, you know, sticking to the facts, stating, what they thought, how they felt, And then I tend to be a very much, I don't really love a whole lot of government in my life, and so I tend to be more on the independent side. So tried to play that moderator of seeing both sides, and like, yes, this can be good, but then there are also contrasting things that could not be so great. um, but I came away with no arguments, no trash talking, nobody making fun of anybody, nobody disrespecting anybody's point of view. So I call it a success.
Oh, it is a success. That never deteriorated into the ad hominem and all of that that I just detest. Make your argument, make it stick, but don't attack the other person. But anyway, it's like a good way to have a debate and getting everybody into it. Becoming the agent provocateur, if you will, and challenging the beliefs and making them get defended. And sometimes people think of things for the first time and change their own mind. Once they really do so, understand what they're advocating. You know, maybe it's not really what they want to advocate, but
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
I'm of the opinion that it's important for us to have discussions around things that we don't always want to talk about. Um, I think that
Mm-hmm.
the brain is a muscle like any other muscle, and you have to, if you're going to build muscle, you have to work against something. You have to face resistance, and working through resistance, builds your capacities, and makes you stronger, makes you a better, more broad thinker. And so I mean, so long as we do it in a respectful and healthy way, I think it's good to explore things that you don't always, you aren't always kind of forced to think about. Most people tend to kind of keep company in their lives, with people who are kind of very much like them, and so it's good to kind of hear an opposing point of view. And from where I kind of stand, I can jump on one side or the other. So I don't mind playing that opposition, even if sometimes I have to sound a little ridiculous to play it. But
Yeah, goes with the territory at times. Um, you do what you got to do, and sometimes you have to even say things you don't believe, and maybe you challenge your own beliefs that way, and say, "Wonder what I really do think about that."
yeah, I mean, and that's actually a really good point, and I think something that is also something that I found myself doing. Like sometimes I'll I jump on a side that I think is going to be really absurd, and then I'm like, well, actually, wait a minute. Maybe there's a point to that. Maybe it's not as crazy as I thought. I was talking to a friend of mine. We were exchanging messages back and forth, and he kind of knows my I'm of the opinion, I'm like, can we just like rotate people like Elon Musk into the president job? I know he's not he kind of is disqualified because he, but uh after seeing what we're doing up at the International Space Station, and you're developing Tesla and SpaceX and everything else, I'm like, this is really the guy we should be talking to. um, he has a lot of good ideas. But we got on this path. We were talking back and forth about, leadership and things that should be said and not said. And, we, I was telling him, that we should have a little bit more impartiality, that this binary system that we have of politics, it forces us to buy into things that we don't necessarily agree with, but it's kind of like, 80/20. We gravitate towards the 80% that we enjoy. The 20%, we just got to like accept it as part of it, even though we don't agree with it. And so he said, maybe the country should just be run by AI. And I was like, that's not a bad idea.
Well, you certainly take all the emotion out of it for, hey, I, and the heat and everything else. It's not that bad an idea.
We're
Remember
just one
Plato
step
the
closer
Lion
to
that stayed
Skynet if
above
we
the
do
fray? Yeah, right. Why not?
that.
Yeah. So
But
it's just an idea to explore.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, sometimes we have to ask some ridiculous ideas, or ask ridiculous questions to kind of break into, different ways of thinking about things. But
Yeah,
yeah, teaching online, I have to say, I mean, it's not without its challenges, but I have to say, it really forces you to try and be a little bit more creative about things.
yeah, it does. So, and that's what some of the faculty are finding out that you know it is more demanding than what they're used to. And I know in some of the places they've got their lectures that they've done this lecture and this week, and they've done it for 10 years. You know, now maybe they have to change that, and maybe they have to do something different. And I think that's appropriate. You can't do the same things online that you do in person, and so you need to work at it. But not
Yeah,
everybody does.
it's tough. I mean, uh, it is one of those things that, can be a challenge, and even though my adaptation to it has not been, as much of a struggle as some of my colleagues have. Um, I
Hmm.
think it is, in many ways it's good because it's giving us some work stretches, and it's teaching us some new skills. And I don't think, for those folks who never really went down this path, I don't know that we're going to have any converts. I think they're going to all love the fact that when the classroom reopens. And I have to say, I mean, I miss the engagement and the interaction, and it's really hard to read people over a camera, their facial expressions, their body language. It's hard to see that quiet person in the back of the room and kind of make that effort to reach out to them. Um, it's not without its challenges, but there are also plenty of people out there, I think, who have really embraced it, and have really found some new and innovative ways to do things. It's I actually had a class recently too where what we were watching some videos, off of YouTube and things like that, just a couple, 2 or 3 minute videos, but it actually went better than I thought. But I mean, there's a lot of buttons and dials and knobs to kind of make it come through and broadcast and sync up, and it's just everybody's got a different level of technology. Some people have great internet connections, some people have miserable internet connections. I have students who keep dropping out. Sometimes I'll see them there, and then I take roll and they're gone. So I got to kind of like, well, I saw them earlier, so I'm gonna count them here.
it's it's just fun. But uh, for the slackers, sneaking out class is so much easier. You just put on an image, and disappear. I
Yeah.
have to confess that for a lot of the faculty stuff, I just put up an image and listen, and can then do what I want to. So
Yeah, that's true.
because it's just my personal presence, you know. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that is one of those things that uh, you know what we sometimes forget. I think when we're teaching classes online is this isn't the first class that a student has. Like our class is not the only class a student has that they're taking online. So sometimes they got to get through, two or three of these sessions where they're just kind of sitting there staring at their computer screen or into a camera, trying to be present when they're sitting in a room, kind of maybe sitting on their bed or sitting on their desk, and it's just, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I do empathize with the students. I pop in, I do my class for the week, and then you know might see them again in a couple days, but like I'm done for the day. They've got to do another couple a couple rounds of this. And that's, I think, where it gets a little tough.
Yeah, I have go to a woman's house that my manicurist, and she's having to homeschool her kids now because the schools are closed. And the kids are on the system, hour after hour after hour. They're in grade school and they got to spend, 3, 4, 5 hours on the computer doing whatever and getting dropped out and getting back in. And she's got to keep them on target to get their homework in. And it's just now to do some of this online for people that are not teachers but are having to take a teacher's role to get their kids through school, and that's those are the people that are ready to junk the whole online system on ground so that they don't have to do it anymore. And I'm there and I'm watching her kids and watching and the kids are 10 and 12, so they're not kids, but it's still they need to be more can be online. They need to be have more kinetic learning going on than they get online. And putting that together is an issue, and putting it together in a way that the instructor or the teacher can monitor it for 20 or 25 kids gets to be a real challenge. And so online in a graduate program, graduate business program is a lot than trying to teach third, fourth, fifth grade. You know, it. I just I'm amazed at how some of them do it, and then I hear them complain about teachers that just kind of, you know, and
Yeah.
that's that they're not learning, and they're losing a year's worth of education almost. And I think long term we're going to have some issues getting these kids back up to speed to offset what they didn't get while they went through this homeschooling or online schooling. You know,
Yeah,
and
that
we'll
that
see.
that is that is definitely going to be a challenge that we're probably not going to see even, we'll start to see it, maybe into the next school year. Um, but that's tough. I mean, it's tough for those parents who are single parents who work during the day. Your child is uh, you're in a situation where you have a younger child trying to learn from home, trying to teach from home, trying to work, trying to, I mean, it's just, it is an absolute mess. And I have to say, I mean, in consideration of a lot of different people and a lot of different circumstances, I do feel a bit spoiled in my position, because I am working, one with adults, but two, um, you know, the programs that I'm teaching themselves translate into online so much easier than, say, music class, or, like I said, foreign language or math. um, and you're trying to teach people math concepts when, off camera they could have, a TV going on, or they're trying to share computer resources with other people in the house, or the signal is weak, or the keeps dropping out. I mean, it's tough. It really is. And one of the things I am hopeful about, as we kind of bring this to a close, is that oftentimes in business, what we see are really incredible innovations that come out of life problems that we have. And what I am hopeful for is the fact that we will really assess um, our internet infrastructure, and we will look at the ways that we've had to do things. I'm sure there are software developers and people who work in tech who have notice some of the deficiencies and the pains that we've all gone through, and I'm sure they are already working on some sort of solution that is going to make some of this easier. So my hope, the what I, my belief that I hold on to, is the fact that I know this is horrible and painful and absolutely miserable for a lot of people. But I think from this terrible experience is going to come some really slick innovations and better ways of doing things, and better technology, and hopefully less expensive technology. And a couple years down the road, we'll see some really cool benefits from all this.
I hope you're right. I think we will. I think we'll see a lot of things. Necessity, mother of invention, all of that good stuff. There's a lot of innovate, be creative, and get the rewards for it. So yeah, I think we will.
At least that's what I hope for, so we don't all go crazy. As we just kind of explore the unknown a little bit here.
Yeah,
Well,
onward into the fog.
Morris, it's great having you back, and great talking to you. Before we cut out, though, we were talking a little bit about the MBA program. Anything you want to plug about the
Yes.
program that you're working on, or want to get out there to folks?
Well, we are socially conscious. We try to make our students aware of their role in the world and fulfilling it the right way. We are emphasizing the current in our curriculum, as you indicated. We need to bring to the students what's happening in the world today so that when they go, they're better prepared. So we're trying to be innovative that way. We're trying to be very relevant in that way and to make it an enjoyable experience. That's what we're about.
Yeah, I love the mission of Holy Names. I love the campus is just beautiful. I know it's an online program, but the campus itself is just absolutely beautiful. And I have to say, it's
Yeah.
great staff, great supportive people, like all throughout. So, I'm gonna just shamelessly plug the fact that if you are a person out there considering doing their MBA, you want to engage with some interesting faculty with some very interesting backgrounds, and just kind of explore a whole lot of different aspects of learning. So from people who really are have a ton of experience in a lot of different industries, who teach these classes. So Definitely, if you're thinking about going to school, check out Holy Names. As Morris had alluded to, students are coming in from all over. And I heard you before we got started. You said you even had a couple from Georgia, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I believe that I'd not ask how they're voting in the upcoming runoffs, but
Well, I will say that there's a lot of people. I was telling some folks earlier. There's people running around here with bumper stickers that say "Don't California my Georgia." so
love it, love it.
so we'll see how it all turns out, but it is going to be a very
Yeah,
it is going to be a very interesting race. I think one of them, the Purdue and Ossoff race. I have a feeling that one's going to probably lean more towards Purdue. The Loeffler Warnock race. That one feels to me like it's going to be a little bit tighter, but who knows? Like the last two election cycles, I could have never predicted what would have happened. Happened. So I don't know.
yeah,
We'll just see what happens.
yep. That's why they hold the election, so we build up our interest.
Well, Morris, thank you very much for joining us. Folks, welcome you back on Thursday. We're going to have Lisa Fay also back joining us once again. And we're going to be talking about effective communication and some of the things that we talked about a little bit today around, having a group of people get together and talk about things that are uncomfortable. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge. And so, exploring this topic of have we lost our ability to communicate? How do we communicate better with others in such a way that is productive and healthy, and that we get good things out of it? Doesn't mean we all have to agree, but we do have to at least get along. So, all right, folks, with that, I will leave it. I hope you guys have a good one, and we will see you back next time. Adios.